That's your gravestone. Oh, look at his eyes. Yep, that's right. You don't move out. That's where you're gonna live, Boomer. Welcome to Procrastinate-n-Play. My name is Marie, and today we're gonna work on my Goonies island. We are gonna finish the abandoned restaurant and start the caverns underground. And hopefully, Boomer will decide to move. Let's get started. Buddy, are you showing off in front of LaBelle again? Oh, yep, sure are. Ooh, a new nickname? Like what? What do you think about Fabu? Pretty cool, right? No, Audie, that's not cool, but I'll let you do it anyway. Fabulous. Fabu it is. See you around. Why did I say yes to that? I should not have said yes to that. What is the worst nickname your villagers have given you? That's definitely up there on the list. Croquet, do you want to move? Nope, you're not allowed. Ugh, Boomer. Come on, dude. No deep thoughts, huh? No thoughts at all. Just happy as can be. He loves this island so much. Ooh, Ken is thinking? Ken, do you want to move out? Hey, so I was cleaning up my space a bit and I found some old treasures. Long story short, I'm selling 4 of those treasures. You want in? Okay, perhaps a good bargain will raise the level of excitement. How about 441 bells from my bath towel wrap? Finally, now I can be rid of this cherished item. Ken, what are you giving me? Oh, Lord. Adios, nostalgia. See you never. Here I am making the first of many, many, many simple panels to come. It didn't occur to me until just now that I spaced this perfectly. Thank God. Thank God the panels fit evenly on here. Phew, that was lucky. So this build is me working on the inside of the abandoned restaurant, and I start off with this jail cell. So I end up changing this and moving the left-hand side of the restaurant down 1 level because that part is actually underneath the first floor of the restaurant, so I decided to change it up. But the jail cell is for one of the characters named Sloth. His family keeps him locked up in this room, and since Animal Crossing for some reason doesn't have chains, I decided, there's no handcuffs or anything that I could find, so I decided to make it like a jail cell, and so that's where Sloth is going to be kept. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to have the first floor of the restaurant with the tables and chairs, and in this front left hand part, I'm going to make another room. In this room, they find the printing press that makes counterfeit money, so I'm going to add a custom design to that loom to make it look more like a printing press. And then I have the water cooler and the metal grate, and that's important because Chunk knocks the water cooler down and the water pours down into the grate, and that's how they figure out they need to go lower to look for the treasure. So sorry for the delayed video this week, but when we got back from our trip, we all got so sick. We got back on Monday, and my sister-in-law was the first one to go down, and she was, as Boomer likes to say, she was reverse snacking all over the place. And then my brother and my niece and my nephew got sick, and then my boyfriend and I, by Wednesday, everyone was sick. We were all sick. And my other nephew, poor thing, he couldn't go on the trip because he had 3 final exams on Monday, and so he didn't even get to go on the trip. And yet we were kind enough to share our germs with him. So whatever we caught on the plane or wherever we got it, the airport, who knows, we shared it with him. And he was also very sick. So in my brother's house, there's 5 of them. They have 2 bathrooms, and it was not pretty. Thank God my boyfriend and I in our apartment, we have 2 bathrooms, because otherwise it would have been a bridesmaid situation. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie, but it's hilarious. There's a scene where they all go out to eat, and afterward they have food poisoning, and they're super sick, just all over the place. And so thank God, I'm very grateful that we have 2 bathrooms in our apartment. Here, you guys can see the custom design I chose. So I tried to find one that looked like money, like dollar bills, but I couldn't find one, and so I just used the money bag. and I put it on the loom and the scattered papers. Then I came back out to the front to work on this area. So in the movie, it's mostly just like rocks and logs and a bunch of overgrown grass. And in the picture, there's two guys who are walking into the restaurant and they're feds. They are trying to catch the Fratellis. And so when the boys walk up to the restaurant, they hear gunshots, and that's the Fratellis killing those two guys. And so we will see at least one of them a little bit later in the movie. The reason the boys end up at the restaurant is because when they find the treasure map, they also find this medallion, and they're able to line up two rocks along with the lighthouse from the restaurant, so that tells them they're in the right space. And then the map tells them to take like 100 paces to the north or whatever direction it is, and so it takes them straight to the restaurant, and that's why they're so obsessed with going in there and trying to get to the lowest point. This car is the one that Chunk saw during the car chase, and when he's exploring outside the restaurant, he sees that it has bullet holes, so he knows it's the one from earlier. And then I also put that trash bag down by the car because unfortunately, that's one of the FBI guys. At one point, you see one of the Fratellis carrying the poor FBI guy stuffed in a trash bag outside. And Chunk actually turns around just at the right time and sees it. And he's really freaking out because he knows what's going on. But the other boys really won't listen to him. He knows they're in trouble. But he's sort of the boy that cried wolf because he lies all the time. And so they're just not really listening to him. Poor Chunk, they don't take him seriously. But he sees the bullet holes. He sees the dead body in the trash bag. Like, he knows. With the build, I'm just adding in some final details. I put down a bunch of leaf piles, and then I also went around and added some wheat fields just to give it that like overgrown, abandoned look. Boomer, you want to move? That's your gravestone. Oh, look at his eyes. Yep, that's right. You don't move out. That's where you're gonna live, Boomer. On my flight to New York, I was able to get a lot of terraforming done, and so here I'm just adding a million termite mounds to what I already terraformed because this is going to be the part that's underground. So I'm just trying to make it look more cave-like, and that's all I could think of. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. But later on, you'll see more of it fleshed out, and you can tell me how you think it looks. This is me being a perfectionist, again, as usual. And I tear down what I built on the left-hand side because I decided I really wanted that to be on the lower level since it is underneath the restaurant. So I pick everything up, I do the terraforming, and then I just rebuild it. For Sloth's cell, I put a TV, and then on the left-hand side, I put a chair for him. On the right-hand side, I put a chair for Chunk, because Chunk ends up in there with him eventually. And then also on top of the TV is the box of chocolates. In the movie, Chunk and Sloth share a baby Ruth. Like, Sloth is very excited about this baby Ruth. And so that's what the box of chocolates are supposed to represent. I decided to add this freezer because there is a part where Chunk smells ice cream and he gets really excited and he opens this walk-in freezer, and that's where the other FBI guy is. So he is dead in the freezer. So I put, I can't make a walk-in freezer, so I put just that little freezer, and then I put the mannequin to represent the dead FBI guy, and then I put down a frozen treat to represent the ice cream that Chunk could smell. So it's really funny because the dead guy falls on him and all the kids freak out, and that's when the Fratellis come back into the restaurant, but they're up above them, and so the kids are trying to be really quiet, and they put the dead guy back in the freezer, but unfortunately Chunk gets stuck behind him and they shut the door, and then they all are trying to leave, and that's how Chunk gets separated from them because they escape and he's stuck in the freezer. I put that mop outside the jail cell because there's a scene where Mikey asks to go to the bathroom just so he can explore, and he goes down and he finds Sloth, and Sloth is freaking out because he can't reach his food. So Mikey takes the mop and pushes the food towards Sloth. Then later when all the kids come down, I put that couch on purpose because there's a scene where they all see Sloth. Like Mikey shows them Sloth and they freak out and they all kind of fall on top of each other backing away, and Brand falls onto that couch and Andy falls on top of him. So they share a little moment, and then of course all the boys like make fun of them. Another detail I include is this phone. Later in the movie, Chunk will use it to call for help, but the police don't believe him because he's a notorious liar. And then you can't see it, but I also put down the blender right here, the mixer, because the Fratellis, when they do find Chunk, they threaten to stick his hand in that mixer if he doesn't tell them where his friends are. It's a really funny scene because they're interrogating him and they're like yelling at him, tell the truth. And he just starts telling the truth from like basically the moment he was born. He's like, when I was 5, I did this bad thing. And then when I was 7, I did this. And he's telling all these horrible stories. I put the campfire on top of the grate because in the movie it's actually like a fireplace, and then they move the logs out of the way, and that's what they go down to get to the next level. So the best I could do is this little campfire. Marley is snoring so hard right now. I've never heard him snore this loud. I don't know if the mic will pick it up, but if you hear anything, that's what it is. So, of course, my indecisiveness in the restaurant, I just couldn't figure out which tables I wanted. Like, I really wanted to use the wooden chairs, okay? But the wooden table is just really, really big. So I liked the size of the project table, but then I didn't like how the wooden chair and the project table are not the same color. And so I kept going back and forth. And eventually I did decide on the project table, and I actually took out some of the tables because they just have, the restaurant is a mess. There's just like chairs and things stacked up everywhere. There's buckets to catch water from the leaks. And so I just kind of make it a little messier and use the smaller tables. I had to go into the lab today because there's a few more things that I needed to get done, and I didn't go earlier this week because I was still feeling so sick. And so it's dead on campus right now. Like, there is nobody there. And I snuck Marley into the lab. I brought him with me. It was really fun, and my lab manager loves him. And we were laughing because he was sitting on my lap when I was working on the computer. And, so I had like all this participant stuff open that I was looking at. And we were joking that this is so nerdy. You guys, no one else is going to think this is funny. But we were joking that this would be a violation because Marley was looking at the computer and he was seeing participant info and the IRB would not approve. Now we have to add my dog to the IRB so that we don't get in trouble. So I finished the front and the inside of the restaurant, and now I'm working on the first section of when they go underground. And basically, they just see like a ton of pipes everywhere. And Mouth's dad is a plumber, so they're like, hey, Mouth, your dad is a plumber. What should we do? And he's like, hey, maybe if we start beating on these pipes, someone will hear us and they'll come save us. So that's what they all start doing. They start like pulling on them and beating on them. And then apparently a lot of those pipes are connected to the fancy country club. And so it's like messing up the showers and the water fountain. The water fountain starts going up and down and it knocks this guy out. And then the best part is that guy Troy, who's kind of a douchebag, he is going to the bathroom and he's sitting on the toilet, and all of a sudden like just water shoots him up into the air and he falls on the ground just covered in toilet water and calls for his daddy. So that part is beautiful. And it's funny too because he's wearing red sweatpants and a red sweatshirt. So they put him in red underwear, I guess thinking that like no one will notice. But you can totally see that he's wearing underwear. And you can even see like the little mechanism that's shooting him up in the air. So I don't know, maybe they should have used like flesh colored underwear or something else. But it's pretty funny. The whole reason the kids go underground is because they're trying to escape the Fratellis. And really Mikey just wants to go down there because he wants to keep searching for the treasure. And they tell Chunk to try to go get help because he's able to escape from the freezer and he crawls out the window. But then when he's running on the street to get help, the Fratellis find him and bring him back. And that's when he ends up in the jail cell with Sloth. And so the kids are trying to escape the Fratellis, but also keep moving underground so that they can find the treasure as well. After finishing the bathroom, I added more termite mounds and the ruined archway just to try to fill it in and make it more cave-like. And then I added that lantern because it's at this point that the kids find a lantern to help guide their way. Let me take you on a tour of what I finished. So I added a couple leaf piles and these mushrooms just popped up, which are perfect. I love them. I added to the outside of the restaurant. So this is just an old abandoned restaurant, and in the movie it's just really run down and overgrown, and so there's a lot of rocks and a lot of logs and things. And so I added in some wheat fields and some leaf piles and just a few things. Oh, I was about to go in the museum like I was going in the restaurant. To get in the restaurant, you have to sneak back here. So here is the restaurant, and they have a bunch of buckets everywhere. So I think there's like a lot of leaks in the building, and obviously it's not in use. So they have chairs and stuff stacked and just things everywhere. So I had this like whole area of chairs over here. And then I thought it would be funny to put a pirate ship on the bar as like a little nod to One Eye Willie. And then so they come into the restaurant and they ask for a glass of water, but really they come here because they think that One-Eyed Willie's treasure is buried. And they just have to, Mikey says they have to get to the lowest point. So he asks to use the restroom, and he goes down here and he sees Sloth. What happens is Mikey comes down here and he sees this and he gets scared and he goes back upstairs. And then Brand is there and he's like, come on, we gotta leave. And so all the kids leave the restaurant, and then the Fratellis leave, and then the kids go back in. And that's where they come back down here and they discover this room, which has the printing press. So this was as close as I could get to the printing press, which was the loom. And I decided to put this custom design of a bell, of like the money bag, the bells, as our counterfeit money. And so they come in here and they start printing this, and they get really excited, and then they realize that it's fake. So they're just exploring around here, and Chunk smells ice cream. So I put these ice cream treats down here, these frozen treats, and he goes into this freezer, this walk-in freezer, and there's a dead body in there. And then the Fratellis come back, and the kids are like trying to be really quiet, and they're freaking out, and they want to put everything back the way they found it. So they're shoving the body back into the freezer, and Chunk gets trapped behind the guy, and they don't realize. So like all the other kids are in here now, and Chunk is stuck in the freezer with the dead guy, freaking out. And so earlier he knocked this water cooler down, and the water ran down this drain. And they realize that there's another level down below this restaurant. So when the Fratellis come back, they decide that their only way out is to go down here. And here's a good view of the blender that they threatened to put Chunk's hand in. What the kids do is, to hide from the Fratellis, they pull this grate out and they go down to the next level. So then they go down here, and there's a ton of plumbing, and they start beating on the pipes because they think that someone might hear them and then they'll be saved. Like the water pressure also breaks this pathway right here, breaks down some rocks, and then they go into the next path. So that's as far as I got, but I did map out the next couple areas. So this is going to be where they find Chester Copperpot, and then they're going to come up here, and this is going to be the right below the wishing well. So the wishing well is up here. You can kind of see it. I haven't done it yet, but I just was sort of trying to map things out. So I did put the well itself down, but I need to like finish this area, add more trees and stuff. And then after the wishing well, they come down here, and this is where the Fratellis catch up to them, and they go across. There's going to be water over here. They go across this wooden log, and they come up here, and this is the bone piano, which obviously Animal Crossing does not have a piano made out of bones in their game. So I decided to get the like grandest, most amazing piano the game had, because the bone piano is massive and just really cool looking. I'll find a picture and insert it. So I put that in. And then down here, I obviously haven't finished it, but it's going to be when they, after the bone piano, they go down the water slides. So these are going to be the water slides all the way down here, and it leads to the big pool of water. And this is where the octopus is going to be. And then over here on the map, the section that's left to the left-hand side of me is going to be where I build the ship. So that'll be like the last major build. Damn it, there's a balloon. Why is there always a balloon when I'm trying to film an intro or an outro? Do I even have... I don't even have a thing. I don't even know where my storage shed is. Seriously, where's my storage shed? Is it in my pocket? I hate myself. I hate myself right now. Why? Why? Oh, God. Ken, not now. There's roaches. Let's see what he says about the roach. Oh no. Was that a cockroach? I mean, forget I said anything. I'm gonna walk away now. It's cool. Everything's cool. Stay cool. Eek! I need to run away. I don't blame you, Ken. Die. For Ken. Are you really just gonna stand there? Flick. Get away. Oh my god. Can you keep it moving? No, don't stop. Oh, Flick. Thank God. Okay, quick before Flick comes back. That's gonna be it for... Oh, jeez. Just ignore Flick, okay? We don't have time for this. That's gonna be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.